Hey guys, it's Nicole. I had mentioned previously when I got these photos back about doing some scrap lifts, excuse me, and how it's perfectly okay to do, just give credit back, all that. So today I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to work on these that I had printed in the extra space from these 12 by 12 prints. And these are from Nicole McGork's blog. I will post a link to this specific blog post so you can watch her video if you want to. When I saw that she was on the Simple Stories design team, I sort of had like a mini freak out because I love her style and Simple Stories has sort of become my favorite manufacturer. So it was sort of this perfect pairing in my scrappy world, I guess. So as soon as I saw these, I was like, oh my god, yes, I love it. And I had already sort of bought way too much of that line anyways. So I was kind of excited that I would probably have everything that I would need to go ahead and do these. So obviously this one, she did more of the girl colors and stuff, and both sets of photos that I had picked are for my son, so I'm just going to kind of switch it out, or maybe just, I may even kind of have to switch things out based on the fact that I haven't really had a close look at which exact supplies she used, so I might just kind of end up switching things out. I don't know that I love like the sequins and stuff down here, so again, I might switch up this. I don't have a photo for down here, so I'm just going to kind of go and see how close I decide to scrap lift it. Some of the things that I really liked was the photo placement and sort of the grids, so that is kind of what I'm going to keep the same, and hopefully I will kind of learn a good way, excuse me, of using the little squares and stuff. And for some reason I actually have two of these. This one I must have gone through and looked at them. I want to say one of them I probably got in their warehouse box. So I have two of these, so I don't feel bad about sort of opening these. I love this line. I love everything about it. I have yet to cut into it because it's like, oh, I love it so much. So I'm just going to go ahead and like rip the Band-Aid off. I went ahead and I pulled everything that I had for it because I think as I'm going, I'm probably going to say, you know, okay, I don't like this, so I'm going to use this. And I kind of want to have everything available to me to use. So I have the enamel dots, the brads, the bigger cards, the die cut pieces, 6x6 pad, and then I know she for sure used a bunch of the chipboard, so I'm glad I picked up that. I have two random sheets because this was in their warehouse box that I bought. I have the collection kit, the basic papers, which I think is what she used for her bases, and then I had picked this up at Hobby Lobby, and I'm kind of hoping, I was hoping some of these basics would be in there, and they're not, but that's okay. But this is one of those packs that I'm probably going to look for online, and I might buy like two more, mostly because wood grain is like one of my favorite types of pattern papers, and the colors that they use tend to match other lines. So, excuse me. So like this green, I think would match up with their handmade holiday or homemade holiday. And the gray and the brown I know match some other collections. So this is going to make me a little sort of sad to use up, but I'm going to look and see if I can sort of replace it because I like the sort of solid tone-on-tone papers, and I like mixing them in with a lot of the papers that have so many images and stuff on them. So I'm going to get started and see sort of how this ends up going. I think I'm probably going to go ahead and just start with this one because I think it's a little bit less product and less work. Oh, excuse me. So I'm going to start with this and kind of see how it goes. Alright, so to get started, I'm going to go ahead and grab my trimmer and I'm just going to trim off my photos. These were some collage prints that I had printed online.
I have a couple of videos prior to this one showing some month in review layouts that those were from. And I'm just going through and trimming off all the excess white photo paper from these. And when I had sent these out to print, I literally just sort of squeezed them no rhyme or reason to how I put them on the page, just trying to fit as much as I possibly could to try to save a little money on those 12 by 12 prints. And I'm not sure what I was doing with that one. Okay, here I've grabbed a sheet of some white textured cardstock, and I'm just using that to sort of lay everything out. And although I'm very, very closely scraplifting her page, there are some things that I decided to go ahead and switch. Mostly because it was either going to work better for my photos, especially since the baby that I'm using is a boy, hers was a girl, so some of the cards that she used portrayed more of the feminine colors. So there you can see I've pulled that pink square out of the snap pack, and that's the one that she had used in her layout, and I thought, well, I'm going to pull the ones that she used and kind of see if I wanted to use them, and I ended up, changing my mind and pulling ones that matched more of a boy themed layout. And I trimmed off one of those little rulers from the 6x6 sheet, and then I'm going ahead and opening the collection kit to kind of figure out the stickers. And here was when I realized that switching the elephants wasn't going to be as easy. Like, I don't think that there was a blue elephant, but now I'm having a hard time remembering. I actually sat down and did these a little over a month ago, and I'm just now having a chance to sort of edit the videos and kind of go through and check this off my to-do list. And then you'll see here I realized that I printed my photo in the wrong orientation. She had a portrait size picture there, so I'm kind of trying to figure out how I'm going to rework this. So I decided to trim my photo to the width of those squares, which I believe those are 3-inch squares. No, those are 4s. So I'm going to trim my photo down to be 4 inches wide, and then I grabbed one of those 4x6 cards from the pack where the wood grain pattern was a pretty close match to that square that I had picked. In those two squares in the upper right, I switched out color-wise, and the phrase just kind of worked better for my particular photos. And I had this lined paper left over from a previous page, and so I'm looking at that. I'm kind of looking at the cards that are included on the paper, and and trying to figure out what do I want to use to print my journaling on. And of course it was after I did this page that I realized I do have the DIY 4x6 and 3x4 cards where it's like the grids, and I probably would have liked that better, but I just decided to go ahead and use that pattern paper from my mind's eye that I had used previously. And you can see I've trimmed down my photo to be 4 inches wide, and you can see that those two wood grain cards, where they're not an exact match because one is above my photo and one is below my photo, it kind of, you don't really notice it as much. It just kind of looks like you're repeating that pattern, or maybe it stretches all the way across. And then I'm trying to decide how far down do I want to have this big block that I've got going on here. So I'm just trimming things down to the size that I want them to be, and then since I had laid everything out and I was liking where it was going, I'm going to go ahead and start attaching my photos and stuff. And I will post a link below to the video that Nicole McGork did of these, And I can tell you her video is way better than mine. I don't know how she just sort of, this type of stuff is just like second nature to her. I don't think I ever would have looked at these supplies in the same way, and I'm really glad that I decided to go ahead and sort of scrap lift these pages, and even go to the point of scrap lifting them pretty closely, because I kind of feel like I learned some new ways of using those little snap cards, and I don't know, I just kind of got my mind thinking about those products a little differently. And normally, you know, when I would sit down and make a page, I would be looking more at the pattern papers, and this layout only uses a full sheet of pattern paper for the background, and then just that scrap of my mind's eye for the journaling. Everything else was stickers and chipboard, squares from the snap pack, that little border piece from the 6x6 pad, just so many different elements that I don't think that I would have ever, I know I never would have come up with anything close to this on my own. So it was really fun to kind of take those same supplies and see if I could make it work for my photos, and, you know, kind of make it look similar or as close as I could to her layout, because these are probably some of my favorite pages that she's put up. I went ahead and popped up the "You Have My Heart" square on some foam tape, and then I'm adding a little tiny piece of foam tape to this little chipboard heart, just to kind of keep it from folding over or like popping off, because it's going over a couple things. Oh, I'm not there yet. Putting foam tape on the back of these elephants. And I'm going to go ahead and do it with all three of them. And like I said, that elephant on the left, I switched that square. Hers was pink, her elephant was pink. I switched mine to a blue square, and then I found that elephant that was kind of gray and blue on the sticker sheet, so I went with that. And I loved how easy it was to kind of scrap lift this, and it was also kind of easy, you know, as I was pulling out maybe the same cards that she used, and I was like, this isn't what I want to say, or you know, I don't think these colors are going to go with, you know, photos of a boy. So it was kind of easy to just switch the cards out for ones that worked for me and my photos and the story that I was telling. And so here I'm pulling off some of the chipboard hearts to go ahead and add those to the elephants. And I'm just adding some extra adhesive, because we all know that chipboard does not stick to anything on its own. I kind of feel like at this point they shouldn't even advertise it as sort of being adhesive chipboard. I think the idea is nice behind it, but I swear it just never sticks. So it's always a good idea to kind of add some extra glue to chipboard pieces. Went ahead and added a couple enamel dots, and here is where I'm just adding a tiny couple pieces of foam tape to the upper part of that heart, so it's not sort of floating where it's, you know, one piece of the heart is stuck to the part that's popped up. I've gone ahead and typed up my journaling, and I'm making sure it's going to fit on that paper. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab some washi tape, and that's how I like to secure whatever I'm printing on. I will secure it to my sort of test print, just so that when it goes through my printer it doesn't really cause jams or anything. And I kind of wish that I hadn't used this particular washi tape. It didn't tear on this project, but I used it again on a later one, you'll see, and it tore my paper. I was kind of bummed. So now I have to remember to use the one that I have that's just not hardly sticky at all. So I'm marking where I need to cut that so that the bottom pieces of all these elements line up. And I'm going to go ahead and just try to tuck that under those little squares and make sure that everything's going to line up and fit. And I think I needed to trim it just a tiny bit more. For whatever reason, anytime I've done these type of layouts where you've got all these elements sort of lined up and squared off and stuff, the last piece, I have the hardest time trying to get it lined up and have everything sort of, you know, come together. Going ahead and trimming that border sticker down to 6 inches before I even take it off the sheet. It's just a little easier for me to do it that way. And then I'm going to struggle to line it up straight underneath these squares for a little bit. And then I'm going to just smooth everything back down. And then go ahead and trim off the bottom of the white cardstock now that I'm sort of done with what I'm including in the grid. And then I'm going to trim off the branding strip for the background sheet, since I am going to go ahead with the brown wood grain. I wasn't sure which one I was going to use at first. And there you can see sort of a side-by-side comparison. It looks very close. I'm using a lot of the same chipboard pieces, a lot of the same stickers. I wish that I had paid more attention, because I really liked how she had the photo going all the way down on the right side, having it be a portrait, but I kind of just decided to make it work. Hindsight, watching this video, I kind of wish that I had just scooted my photo all the way down and added some stuff between the photo and the "You Have My Heart" area, but it's kind of one of those things. I just kind of, in my mind, was really wanting to stick very closely to her layout. So at the time, I just was tunnel vision, just trying to figure out, okay, I'm not, my photo doesn't go to the bottom, so the bottom is where I need to fill in. I went ahead and added the baby chipboard piece, a sticker that said 9 months, which I just went back on my phone and looked for these photos on Facebook, and I was able to figure out how old he was that month. Added a couple more of those little chipboard hearts here and there. And then to fill in and add interest to that bottom area, I trimmed off another one of those rulers, and I just picked blue to kind of carry the blue color down. Added another chipboard heart and a couple more enamel dots. And I'm just showing you again her page and my final page, and there is a picture of the completed layout. And then I have another picture of my journaling area in case anybody was wanting to see that. And then I'm going to jump in and go ahead and do the other layout. These, I have to tell you, were so fun to do. If there is a scrapbooker out there that you love their work, or you have pinned some of their layouts, or you've printed them out and they're in your, you know, inspiration binder or whatever, if you told yourself like, oh, I want to scraplift that, you should completely do it. And I say that because beyond the process itself being fun, it's fun to sort of try on somebody else's style, or just kind of relax and sort of follow along to, you know, a guide or, you know, somebody else's layout. And these are, in the last couple months, these are two of my favorite layouts. Like, I love looking at them. I think it helps that it's one of my favorite collections. I don't know, I love everything about these. So I would definitely go ahead and not sort of make yourself feel bad for not having this original creation sitting in your book. Your books are for you. If it was fun to scraplift somebody and you love the page and it tells a story and your photos look good and they make you happy, then by all means scraplift. I think obviously it's always a good idea, especially when sharing your work online, to tell people, you know, if you scraplifted from somebody, obviously this is who I scraplifted, and always, you know, if possible, provide a link back or some type of information for people to find, you know, the original work. I definitely want to sort of continue this. There was some more pages by her that I had sort of made notes to myself that I just either absolutely loved the layout or a technique or something. So those are kind of in the back of my mind that I want to find photos for and scraplift those. There's a couple that Laura Vegas had posted on Carrie Bradford's design team in the last couple months that I was completely in love with. So I may look into trying to scraplift a couple of those. It's fun to try, other people's styles or to copy something that you're just in love with. Like, I don't feel like there's anything bad about it. To me, it's no different than, you get a pre-designed kit and you're putting it together. You're basically, copying the sample layout. So while I was chattering on there, I just went ahead and put down all of my elements, the snap squares, my photos, trimmed down the white cardstock that all of that is going on. And then for this one, there was only a couple changes that I made, and I'm trying to think. I used everything on the top was pretty close to what she had used until it gets to the embellishments on the two smaller squares. I did not have the chipboard frames, and I don't particularly like chipboard frames or any type of frame that goes like over your photo a lot of times. So where her layout has a chipboard frame over the square photo on the right, I chose not to do that. And I'm going ahead and just putting this down so it'll stop sort of sliding around on my desk. And okay, going ahead and popping up that little moon sticker. And then on her layout, she had an additional photo in the fourth square spot. Mine says hello. And then she had used that blue and gray elephant on that little square. But because I had already used it on my first layout, I decided to kind of just do something different. So I went through the little bits and pieces pack and I found another one of those wood grain clouds. So I'm going to go ahead and put that there. And then I was just showing you that there was a moon and star brad in the brad pack. So I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just going to kind of keep going with this moon and star thing sort of everywhere. So I pulled those out, and then here I'm skipping over to the sequins. She had done two squares where she filled them with blue sequins on a yellow square, yellow sequins on that gray square. I didn't particularly care for, I don't know, for whatever reason they looked weird to me, or it could just be the contrasting color. So I just decided to only do it on the yellow square, and I did yellow sequins, and then didn't do a very good job, but I tried to just do where they were more clustered at the bottom of the square and they sort of scatter lighter and lighter as they get closer to the top of the square. Going ahead and figuring out where I want to secure all of my brads, and here I'm pulling out the alpha and phrase stickers from the collection kit. And this is another area that I sort of did my own thing. I didn't have, I think, the exact same stickers that she used, and a lot of times this is kind of like when I'm following a sketch, I'm sort of distracted by the product and I kind of just pick what I like or do my own thing here. So I added that gray sticker. I originally was going to use a yellow one, and I didn't. To me, you couldn't really see what it was or what it said, so I just switched it out for a darker one. Just showing there that I had printed my journaling on that die cut piece. There's a full shot of the layout and a close-up of the journaling. And again, I will include a link to her videos, so I would strongly suggest you go ahead and take a look at her video, because I think she does a better job of explaining or giving ideas for using similar products. So as always, I thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time.